Hello, everyone. It's that time for the J Moore Tech Talk Show, where we answer questions about technology, explain the way they should work, and why they don't sometimes. And now here's your host, John C. Morley. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome once again to the J Moore Tech Talk Show. This is John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, and it is great to be with you on a fantastic, fabulous Super Friday. That is June 18th. Marcus, welcome.
Thank you, John.
How are you doing today? It is great to be with you on this Friday. We have a really great show tonight, don't we?
Definitely do. What a pleasure to be with you.
Well, to start off, I want to let you know that we have a great guest coming on a little bit later in the program, Sheila Mac, who is the author of a book and also has her own show as well. So we'll get a chance to interview her a little bit later in the program. But, you know, Marcus, everyone being home and being cooped up for a while, you know, wants to exercise.
Yeah.
But listen to this conundrum. Biking at home on your Peleton may become a security risk. Now, tell me that doesn't really send you racing for the hills.
Absolutely.
That's right. So hackers are possibly going to be able to get into your computer, which is the screen that you would be sitting in front of, and install malware on it and expose you to being eavesdropped by the camera, microphone, and possibly even controlling the bike's program, speed, etc. And not to mention compromising, of course, your personal account information. Wow.
Wow. Indeed.
I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, that's truly a lot. That's a lot going on.
All I have to say is that anything connected to the internet, and you've heard me say this before, is a security risk. If you do not take the appropriate precautions, it's not a question of if something's going to happen, but when. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So if you have a Peleton bike, it is very important that you get the latest security update. If you don't, well, your bike is going to be possibly compromised, and you might be letting out information about your own privacy, and possibly might even be damaging your health, because if the hackers get in and just try to be nasty and maybe speed up your bike or change your program, that might put you into a little bit of a tailspin. What do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, I greatly agree with you, you know.
Well, Facebook's new artificial system is now able to not only detect fakes, but their origin as well. So I guess Facebook has gotten tired with all this gaming that's been going on with people actually trying to mislead them with, you know, their false information. So they've really decided to get on board with this. And so now with this new system and this new method, it's going to be pretty interesting. And Facebook and actually Michigan State have created this algorithm that can fingerprint and generate models used to create the AI deep fakes. And that's how they're actually able to do this. So this is really amazing. Facebook, if you've been following, has always been about communities and getting people to stay on their platform. That means that if you post something and you try to send somebody to another link, they're probably not going to give it as much attention or show it as much, because let's face it, Facebook wants to keep you on their platform. Everybody else wants to do that too in social media. Facebook's not the only one.
Yeah.
So Facebook is now rolling out a new set of tools for the admins of groups so they can gain more control over their community. It's going to be quite interesting, Marcus. We're going to have to see what they're going to do. I'm interested to see what kind of tools they're rolling out.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be different.
Well, my next guest is Sheila Mac. She is the author of Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And I'm very privileged to have her going to be joining us here momentarily. And I want to let you know that she didn't start off as a successful author that she is today. She had major setbacks early on in her life. Her recent book, which was released last August, made it to Amazon's #1 bestsellers list and has reached a wide audience. In her book, she introduces Boots Formula, which helps struggling people move from rock bottom back into action. Sheila Mac is extremely passionate about helping people overcome tragedy, whether she's teaching parenting and relationship courses or how to invest in real estate properties. She's also the proud mother of 6 children. Sheila Mac has also started her own podcast and now also has a radio show. Please help me welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Sheila Mac to the J Moore Tech Talk Show tonight. Well, hey, everybody. It is John C. Morley, the host of the J Moore Tech Talk Show, serial entrepreneur, and I am very pleased to be with Miss Sheila Mac, who has quite an amazing story, and not just being a serial entrepreneur herself, but also, embracing life. And I think that is something that is amazing. So, Sheila, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, John. I really appreciate it.
When I started looking at the book and I saw the title, Bootstraps and Bras, and I said, okay, is this for me to read? Am I supposed to read? Is this for a ladies or a gentleman? But really, it's just your metaphors for things. I said, maybe I'm not supposed to be reading this. Am I going to get in trouble? No. But it was just amazing how you started this journey. And, you have a great book. It's available on audio and it's available, you can download it. And we'll have a link to that, of course, when this goes on our site. I want to ask you something, Sheila. What would you say was the primary reason? Because you had a lot of challenges in the book, I know. What was the main reason that really drove you to write this book?
The main reason, I actually wrote the book after I lost my house, my cat, and my car in a house fire. And when that happened, that was in the California Ventura fires in 2017. And I thought, my gosh, I'm kind of alone because everyone else that I know in my area is going through the same situation. And so we helped each other as much as we could, but you find yourself alone when you're going through a tough situation, whatever that is, whether it's just dealing with this crazy COVID, or it's going through a divorce, or it's you're parenting and you have your children and they're growing up, or some other situation you're dealing with elder care, whatever that is. And I thought, what would I want? And I created a formula that helped me get back on track within a month. And I was even shocked at the speed using the formula that I used so many times in my other situations in life. And I thought, wow, I would like to sit down with my best friend, my sister, my good colleague, male or female, and say, hey, oh my gosh, you're going through this situation. Let's sit down. Let's get through this. Let's get grounded and go step by step to get back on track. And so that's why I created the book.
It's just really inspirational. And again, not to make people sad, but I really want to, express my heartfelt condolences. I mean, you had lost someone very dear to your son in the family, and just to be able to pick up where you are, and get back on a horse, that's not an easy thing. And to just be able to do that. And then you had a lot of other challenges, which I'm not going to go into all of them, but you had a lot of challenges. And I think everyone's life has challenges. But I think the good thing about challenges is that I believe, I'm Roman Catholic, and I believe that, when we get these challenges, they're actually given to us for a great reason. Mm-hmm. And they help us to become a better version of ourselves. So I think if we don't learn, we don't get a chance to advance. Now, you have something very unique in your book, and it's called the Boots, BOOTS formula. Mm-hmm. So is there anything specific you want to talk to us about that? Is there anything that's really important about that? I know what the formula is, but what's probably the most important thing that people need to know, or what's the most important part of that formula?
Oh my gosh. So the B is for being. It's who you're being in all that you're doing, and who you have to ask the question, who do I need to be to show up as to get back on track in this particular situation? And that's going to really make a difference. The other letters go into our orientation. We have to say, this is where I'm at now. Now I don't have a house or a car. A day later, I've been demoted in life really quickly when I had my fire. And so I had to really be honest about where I'm at in order to say, and this is where I want to go. And that's whether that's in business or in your personal life. You have to be honest about the numbers. This year, businesses have been hit really hard. And so to be really honest is going to help you. And then it's the order of operations is the next O in the Boots formula. And that really for creating a plan, and you have to do things in a certain order. You can't go buy the new car until you have the money to go do that. And so there's certain steps you need to take. And then the T is our thinking, our mindset, which is so important. And the S is stepping up. So you can meditate all you want, but you need to take action. The action is important. So stepping into it and having that's where I guess, like you mentioned, your religion, when you have some type of faith beyond yourself and a knowing, a belief that, okay, I'm going to take the next right action and something will show up. As long as I keep moving forward, some days I might crawl. I got out of bed and it was a really good day. The day after I lost my son, that was really hard. It was hard. And you're like, how do I get my other children? I adopted 3 more. And then so it's a total of 6 in the family, 3 of my own and 3 I adopted. And so getting all the kids together, young adults, and, being present for them and still having my mindset. And it was like, so sometimes you crawl and you're still moving forward. And that's the difference.
And when you had lost your son, people don't know because they didn't read the book, and I want them to read the book. But what I want people to understand is that it wasn't just the fact of you losing your son. It was also the fact that there was a journey, and he had a lot of challenges. It wasn't like, he woke up sick one day. This was something that went along for a long time. And again, not to get in every detail of the book, I mean, the fact that there were people that should have been there to love him and love you, that pretty much decided to just take the A train.
Yes.
And and exit. And I think a lot of people do that in life, right? They just kind of take that A or that B train, and they just kind of, whenever I always say you can tell your true friends, because when you have a challenge, they're going to be with you through the good times and through the bad times. So I just love the dialogue you use. And also, if you do get the audiobook, Sheila actually navigates it. So it's great to hear her voice. And it's very moving, and just to hear it. It's not a book that you're going to sit down and just digest in 5 seconds. I've got to tell you that. It's a book that you can have your cup of coffee and your tea, and you can listen to a few chapters or read a few chapters and then digest it. And then just sort of have some composure and then come back to it. Because if you try to do it all in one day, it's a lot. So there's a lot of points you bring out from, understanding what grief is, different types of abuse, which I think was amazing how you brought that in the book. And also, about money matters and finance. And it's basically a muscle that we have to exercise. But you bring home a very interesting point in everything that you talk about in this book, whether it's from parenting or breaking the cycle of addiction or self-care and spirituality or lifestyle design, and even all the way back into the conclusion and even into the acknowledgments. And I think that points back to something very technical, and I like to refer to that, since I'm an engineer, is the reticular activating system. You see, like you mentioned to me that when you have these cars on, like when you have these different things, and whether it's cars on the road or whatever it is, if I asked you what your favorite color car is, you're going to tell me, and I'm going to tell you my favorite color. But what we're going to both disagree on, agreeably for a moment, is that there's more red cars, or there's more blue cars, there's more white cars, but really there's the same amount of cars. So what you said before really hits home, is that it's not about meditating. And I know, being meditating for many years and doing Reiki level 2, you've got to take that step. I think the meditation gets you into the mode of being able to receive and stuff like that. But you don't just close your eyes and, okay, like The Secret, and just, presto, it comes. But there's a good reason for that, because we don't want 5,000 elephants in our living room when we think about them. So that's good. There's a delay factor. But I think what a lot of people don't understand, Sheila, is, taking your book, is that they're conditioning that reticular activating system, because that was designed to help us live and get food and survive. And so it was never designed to help us achieve success, but we can hack it to do that. And so it's not an easy thing to do, but when you focus on it, it's like your mind gravitates to what you focus on. Yeah. So I think that's amazing.
Yes. So a good story to share about that real quick is that okay, so obviously I lost my car in the fire as well as my house. So
Yes,
yeah, I'm
yes.
staying in this little 400 square foot unit that was part of a little cabin I own. And I rented the rest out, Airbnb, vacation rental, because everybody needed a place to stay. And I'm in the smallest unit. And I still have to do real estate. I worked with clients, sometimes really close friends, and the rest of the time I just lead courses and this and that. So a friend said, I'm flying in from Virgin Islands. Could you drive me? Because you drive on the other side of the road, kind of like in London, in the Virgin Islands. Sure. She said, I'll rent the car. You just drive. Take me to the places. Find me a place. I said, no problem. So all weekend, I was driving this beautiful Mercedes. And she said, you look good in that car. That car could really work for you. And I said, yeah, you're right. And then I finished with her. She got her house, which was wonderful. We got a really 3 days, imagine. And we found her house. And then I had to go work with another client. So I rented on this Turo a vehicle and it broke down. And I
Boy.
thought, that's terrible. All right, let me call the AAA. I go to my phone to call, and what pops up is this email from Hyundai, the car company. And I thought, well, that's nice, but I don't really need a Hyundai to show clients around in Beverly Hills. And it's just it's not what they want, expectations, right? It's not me. I like Hyundais, nothing personal, but I said I really wanted that Mercedes, but they had offered a $75 coupon, I don't know, Visa or whatever it is, to go in and test drive the Hyundai. Well, since I was stuck there and the guy that owned the car came and got it with the AAA, I took an Uber and I went straight to this dealership across town in a different part of town that maybe isn't so fancy. And so I went there, and what was in that lot was a pre-owned with super low miles Mercedes. It was the exact one I had drove all weekend. And I told them, I said, okay, my credit just went down. I took a big hit because I just bought a house, and then I bought all the furniture for the house, and I did all the stuff. And then, of course, the house burned down. And so I said, well, here's where I'm at. And I have this much. I just got a commission check in, so I can put so much down. If you can get me into that car, that's the car I need for what I do. And I got that car and drove off the lot that day with that car. And the person that, they clean it and they show you how to use all the buttons.
Yeah.
Looked just like my father, who had passed away when he was young. And I thought, okay, I'm getting a little help from heaven. That's a miracle that I got this car. And so that was manifesting. I was in the car, the rented one. And then next thing you know, there it was. But I had to have the belief and go with it. I just needed the $75 for groceries because all my cash had been tied up. And so that's what happened with that situation. So sometimes it's that stepping up and stepping into something, being willing to do something outside of your comfort zone, see what shows up. And then maybe because I was looking there on the lot, I see the car that I really needed. And because it was in the area where they usually don't sell Mercedes, they sold it to me $6,000 below Blue Book. It had 11,000 miles on it or something. And so it was like to me, it was like, well, this is pretty new. When you're driving full time in California, you're going to go through 11,000 miles in a second. So it's perfect.
It's amazing how, when you tell somebody this and they're having challenges, they look at you like you have 3 heads or something. And so if you can just step back for a moment and maybe just appreciate, have gratitude, but really just understand that things are going to be okay. It's like the water faucet starts to open up slowly, maybe not quickly, but slowly. And you're like, hey, the next day's not so bad. And it's actually getting better. So I think the belief is really a strong point. And so if people, are conditioned to looking for things, we miss opportunities, Sheila, every single day. I mean, you remember when you had the store and you went into the gift shop business.
Yes.
And you went into the gift shop business, and real estate was not even, you got into real estate through a back door, if I would say, right? I mean, you did very well with it, but that wasn't your plan.
No.
Your plan was to have that little gift store and help people. And then I remember when you had said that one of our elected officials, Mr. Clinton,
Yes.
had come in. And so, it's funny how our mind plays tricks with us. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think these tricks that it plays with us are for a reason. So maybe it's not to get us in trouble, like you were alluding you were in trouble for something, but it's to cause a wake up in you to take an action. And that's why I feel a lot of people, whether they go to the hospital, wherever it is, they get a wake up call. And the quick story, I'll allude to that myself, is that I broke my tib and fib many years ago. I was an intermediate skier. And I broke my tib and fib for no fault of my own because of going down a mountain. Well, the challenge was that they were giving the resort away to their grandkids. They should have just sold it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to the hospital, real quick story, nobody was on my side. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had to become more of an advocate for myself. But what I also realized is that when things got a little challenging and gloom, because it was hard, right?
Right.
I realized that back then I didn't agree with it. Now I do,
Mm.
because I'm like, I wouldn't have been a new home. I wouldn't have been a new location. I wouldn't have had these new opportunities because I would have still been expecting them to come through that door, but they were never going to come through that door because I was in the wrong place. So by that happening, it caused a few years of challenge, but then it kind of opened me up to something that I'm like, was I ready for this? And it
Mm.
just sort of happened. And I think it kind of, like I said, it knocks us. So when that happens, and when somebody says to me, oh, gee, I went in the hospital, I'm like, how many times? Oh, 3 times. Okay.
Mm.
Well, I think somebody's trying to send you a message. No, no, no. It's just that I'm always like, no, no, I'm serious. Somebody's trying to send you a message. It's like, I don't take messages. Like, and you can't talk to some people, right? I mean,
Right.
it's that type of thing. Would you say, Sheila, that there's one message that you would like to leave people graduating college today? What would that be?
Go with your passions, although be willing to show up as who you are in whatever you do. So for me, when I was 18, I started working at JPL NASA doing programming in the engineering department. And
Yes.
so I did that for 3.5 years and it was great, but they never gave me a raise. And I would go home and have to put my wrists in ice because of carpal tunnel. And I
Yes.
so uncomfortable. My body wasn't happy there. I had to dress really old. I mean, because I'm 18. So to me, it was like, okay, I have to try to fit in here and look professional. And I loved working with the people. I actually started teaching the safety classes there for OSHA and leading groups and speaking. And that was that was my fit. That was sitting at a desk programming was really hard for me. And so don't go for the money, go for your passion. Everything else will show up. Yes. And that's what happened. Then at 23, I opened my gift store, 5,000 square feet, dollar a square feet, $5,000. I got 6 months free rent, and I was making enough money by the time that first year went by that I started investing and buying other store buildings. I had 5 stores in California, and I bought 4 of the buildings with the cash flow. So now when I got to the Shopping Park Association, I'm 23 years old. I'm a kid. These people are, in their 50s. They've been running their businesses there for a long time. And they're like, who do you think you are? The next thing you know, they were coming to me, how do I do what you do? So that was, don't question what you can do to try to fit in to appease everyone else. Just be you. I was just having fun. I didn't have the fear of loss, I guess, that maybe I should have had as a young kid. This great 5,000 a month, at 23 was a lot. I don't even know how that landlord agreed to let me in there, but it happened. And so that was it. It was getting rid of the fear and just do your best self every day, and then you make a lot of improvements. I paid for marketing, I got help, I got a CPA, things I didn't know, I got training, and that was it. So
I think that's really important, is to go with your gut and to go what you like to do. When people say to me, what time do you go to work? And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, what time do you go to the office and work? I said, well, I go to an office, but I don't work.
mm-hmm.
Well, what do you do? Well, I help people. Doing what? And then I tell them what I do, and they're like, okay, and you just do that? I said, well, yeah, then they pay me for helping them. They said, well, you do work. I said, well, I'll be honest. I think I do work 2 days a year. And that was actually when I deal with our accountant, but we've recently replaced that accountant and got a new one. And now I think I work maybe about 2 hours a year because I still have to sit down with them with the numbers. But 2 hours is a lot better than a week or 4 days. So if you do what you love, just like you're saying, I feel that you'll never work a day in your life.
Yes, and you can bring what you love to what you're doing in one way or another, or use what you're doing to fund what you love to do so that you can graduate into doing that full time at a certain point. I mean, you know, sometimes you have to pull your sleeves up and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
To take care of your
You
love.
got to mop the floor yourself when you get started. You got to, I don't want to say paint, because if I paint, they'd fire me. But you have to do some other things, clean up some stuff. And, you know, be ready to, just like you said, roll your sleeves up. But I think the most important thing, Sheila, is you got to have fun.
Yeah.
And what I found is that when you have fun, it gets infectious. Other people are watching from the side. You get some people that have those glasses on that are like, you know, what are you doing? And they're against you. But then there's other people are like, wow, that's pretty cool what you're doing. Yeah, that's neat. So I feel that there's always going to be people out there that hate what you're doing. I think that's just the nature of our world. I wish our world would have more people that would want to help others, but it's not, unfortunately, the way it is. I mean, we can be great people, but there's always going to be those people that are takers. I always say you have to give and take.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something that, you know, they get from growing up. But I find that if you can do what's in your heart and you can help people, and you can make the difference in life, I mean, it just makes life so much more enjoyable. I mean, you got to play in everything you do. What would you say, Sheila, was the hardest thing that you had to learn as a child growing up? I mean, I know you did a lot of great things, but what was the hardest thing that you had to learn?
So there I was at 23 and a half, opening my gift store. I had employees that were twice my age that were working, and they were like, I can't believe you're my boss. You know, and yet I hired them because they were the top salespeople, and they were working at Nordstrom's and different places. And I was like, hey, I can pay minimum wage, but guess what? I have 2 nannies, and I have this big private area and for the children to play, and I can give you flex time, and I can give you all these things. And for different reasons, people would leave those corporate type of sales positions or whatever and come work with me. And then that was really hard, though, because there had to be that different relationship. I think we were still really a team and everything, but there's still that you had to have I was the boss at a certain point, to a certain level where you can't go play with your employees as much. You know what I mean? And I was young. And so that was hard. And then I also managed, my first house was a triplex, and I lived in the back unit. And so I was also like house hacking before that was a word. And so I had to also be the landlady. So I was the boss and the landlady, and my peers, I could not relate to them at all because they were out having fun. And I was, you know, working,
having to grow up, and I think that the dichotomy of that is very hard for most people to understand. My parents had a business, and I know I was starting to manage it when I was in 8th grade, and in college I would come home every weekend, not because I had to, because I wanted to. And later, after the business had grown for a while, they asked me, "Do you want to be in this business?" And I said, "No." And that's when they decided to sell it, because they said, well, I don't want to be in a business that I'm going to be a slave to, that I'm not going to enjoy. Even though I loved it, it was very labor intensive.
Yeah.
It was a dry cleaning plant. And it was very labor intensive. And I think it was great for the lessons that it taught me.
Right.
But you're right. When you have people at different age dichotomies, we have a tendency to want to befriend them. And so, you know, you have to say to people, when you get somebody around your age or even a little bit younger, yes, you know, you work for me. Yes, we can be friends, but I'm not going to be your friend. So friendly is different than me being your friend. And I think there's a reason for that, because Then you have people that are like, oh, well, come on, John, we're just doing this as well. No, John, the boss, is saying this. So you can't separate the two things. So I think if you have that from day one, what you expect and where things are going, then I think it's a great way. But if you try to come in there and try to be their friend and try to be their employee, it doesn't work out, does it?
No. And I think even in my parenting chapter, it goes to that. You can't be your kid's friend until a certain age and point in life. When you're guiding and directing, there's a certain level of, I guess you might want to call it authority with your children. And, even at work where I'm write the checks. So you need to do work the way I'm asking it to be done here if you want to continue working here. And so that's kind of something that was hard for me. And then to be the landlady, I couldn't be friends with my neighbors who were my tenants. Different. And I remember an older friend, he owned, I don't know, like 36 units here and 50 units there, multi-millionaire. He was one of my neighbors, the millionaire next door neighbor. And he lived in a very humble house. And it was funny because he said, oh, Sheila, welcome to the club. It's different. And I was like, yeah, but I don't like it because I love people so much. How do I have to be like this? And so I had to find a way to be able to be very loving and kind, but firm. And people knew that what I said was what I meant, kind of a thing. So that's it.
I think a lot of times, dealing with lots of landlords, and I know dealing with my very first one, I think I was not even just about out of college, really. And it was really an experience. And, when you deal with these landlords, I call them, mom and pop landlords because they're very small. They have like a 5-page lease and, you do your standard things. They basically pay everything and you pay a rent and that's it. Then, when you get into your first corporate lease, it's different. And the only difference between a mom and pop lease and a corporate lease is a corporate lease usually is between 50 and 100 some pages.
Yeah.
And that usually has boilerplate language that they've modified, but usually need an attorney. And the thing most people don't understand is the attorney is not there to protect you for the lease. The attorney is there to help you understand what's in it, but they're not there to read it for you.
Right.
They're there to help you interpret it, but you need to read your own lease. And I learned at a very young age, you got to read everything. People are like, John, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm reading it. I'm reading. Oh, well, nobody reads that. I said, well, I'm not everybody. So I think that's the challenge. But the point I'm bringing up is that a lot of times these landlords, and I'm going to say more of the corporate type, non-mom and pop landlords, they kind of cross the line. Now, I'm not saying that they're too friendly because they go the opposite end of the spectrum. They become, I don't want to say nasty, but they become very egotistical and they believe they're all in power. And so that's nice, but I think sometimes that becomes an ego that trickles down. And so I think if you're doing your job and adhering to your role, there's no need for you to be nasty. There's no need for you to be, well, I'm the boss, I'm the owner. There's no need to throw that authority around. And what I learned is I knew several landlords, and with COVID happening, a lot of them were very pompous. One of them owned a building that was probably over 100 million. And they wound up selling that building and moving into a very small space at like a fraction of that building.
Wow.
So I think, the tables can turn, Sheila. And so I think we have to realize that, we got to be nice to the people, as we're going up, because we could meet them coming down. And I say that in reverse too, because I think we just have to be very nice to people.
I think so too. And it was that I had to figure out how to have that relationship that was loving and caring and nice, but still got the job done. And still, you have to negotiate a lease. You have to do these certain things. And so I had to figure that out. I went to school to learn, real estate and all that at USC while I was running my businesses, because all of a sudden I have to buy buildings. And I was like, why am I going to pay a real estate person when I could just figure this out myself? And so I had to learn that. And I remember I had bought a little warehouse. Well, it was a pretty decent sized warehouse in Burbank. And I ended up negotiating with the big major studios. to rent my space for their shows, like to put their supplies. And I told them, well, I need to check your credit. And there was 20, and they were all men. I'm the only woman and I'm young to boot, so I'm a young woman, and I'm trying to negotiate. I'm like, look, I went to class and they told me I have to have your credit. Yes, I know you're such and such studio, and you do films.
They probably laughed.
They all laughed, and they said, you know what, we want this building, and we're going to give you that credit.
I think sometimes, Sheila, when you do something that is, I don't want to say off the beaten path, but sometimes when you do something that the other person doesn't want, but they know it's something that is normally there, they're like, okay, we're just going to do that. Or, like when the landlord is wrong or they make a damage on something, right? And they damage something, and then I pull out the lease, just like in section 18B, paragraph 3C, there's a clause in there that states, should there be damage done to a tenant's facility or property of the lease subhold during the term of the lease, it'll here be, they use these fancy words, the responsibility continuing thereof, respectively, to the person that is leasing, which basically says that they're responsible to fix the damages at 100% cost during a time that is mutually conducive for the business owner, that is not interruptive to their business schedule. So we get all these things. We had a slight little issue. We pull that up, and they said, okay, well, we can fix that for you tomorrow at 10:30. I said, I'm sure you can. And pursuant to the lease, if you need me to pull out a copy, I'll be happy to. 10:30 is not a conducive time for me because that's my revenue generating hours. Oh, well, when do you close? Well, we could do it before 9. We could do it at 8. Or we could do it after 6. Or if you like, we could do it on the weekend, like Saturday morning. Oh, we'll get back to you. Right. And it's funny because when you start becoming educated, Sheila, what I've learned, these big bad wolves, and I don't mean to call them that, they kind of tame down. And I always use the excuse, you don't like me very much, do you? I'm young. You don't like me. Maybe I don't have the $10 billion profile that you have. However, you don't like me, and I feel that. And that's okay. But I just want to be upfront with you and let you know that I don't feel I'm being treated equally. I'm being discriminated against. And I'm a paying, customer. And so they don't really say anything. But as things evolve and they kind of move along, it's like they kind of get a little bit easier. I don't say they become your friend, but it's like that hard exterior goes down. We had one person, well, you don't ever call me by my first name. Well, why not? So I said to the person, so you're a gentleman, I'm a gentleman. I said, I put my slacks on my left foot first, my right foot. You probably put yours on left, right, or maybe you're right or left. So we're not too much different. Looked at me, didn't say anything. And then one time a while back, I was walking out, and I said to the person, I said, have a good evening, have a wonderful weekend. And I said the person's first name. And I thought for sure they were going to say, you're never supposed to do this.
Oh my
God. It's not in the lease, but all of a sudden they came back to me and said, yeah, you too, John. Very it's almost like they were disarmed. I think the reason they're like this, Sheila, from what I'm understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and it's because maybe they've been burnt so many times. I think this is the reason. So what I finally said to them about several months back when I had the issue, I called up, and I have the Gestapo lady I'm going to call. Very nice lady. But this, I call it the Gestapo because I said, can I speak? Oh, no, that he doesn't take calls directly. Well, can I schedule an appointment? Well, it has to be approved.
Right.
Okay. But you want to meet with me and you think you can just get on my calendar in 24 hours. So then I started saying, I said, well, let me give you my calendar link. And why don't we see what's available in my schedule?
Right.
And so they kind of took a step back And then it was like this person that was like this Gestapo. And then we had issues like there was a dog, for example, barking. And I called them. I said, hey, it's such and such. Listen, I hate to bother you. But, pursuant to the lease in section 18-23, it's the job of the landlord to ensure that a peaceful, professional, and non-threatening, as well as an enjoying environment to conduct business is always preserved. So I read that to them. And she said, what's the problem? I said, was a dog barking.
Yeah, it's kind of odd for a business place.
Right. Well, we're in a place where they have a strip mall above us.
Oh, okay.
So, but you're still not allowed to bring dogs in.
Yeah.
So I said, so they send somebody out. Now, of course, they don't check. They send their maintenance people out to go check.
Mm-hmm.
Maintenance investigates. It comes back, gives me a whole detailed report. Because it's never a simple thing. It's a whole document. And it says, well, the person actually has a service dog. And they come in every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Yeah, they do. Wow. So it's just the part that I guess really took me back, Sheila, is that, when you're in business and you do something, even if something as simple as a check, I'm just going to go, here's your check.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to funnel it through something to seem impressive. Like, yeah, I'm going to give it to my maintenance guy and he'll just come over and bring it to you. Like, why do we need to do that? Like, is that something so demeaning? Like, it's not like we're asking anything wrong, but I just think it's part of that ego trip. And I feel that if you're humble in business when you're small, when you grow, then you're going to be the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I've learned probably the most is that, all these people have probably been burnt. And when they've been burnt so much, they just put that wall up.
Yeah. And I think that, in a certain perspective, they may have 5 other places. And I rarely ever went to my properties at a certain point because I also was running gift stores and had 6 children and elders that ended up getting sick, and I took care of them. So, and I did have a decent relationship and know my tenants on a first name basis and had that, decent relationship. But I also people that the people that did work for me were also part of the team that I was comfortable, and they were kind and friendly and caring enough that when they did go to a maintenance call or something like that, that my thing with whether it was the store employees or people that work with me in the real estate business running the buildings, that they had to treat the clients exactly like as if I showed up. And that
I think that's great. But my challenge was that the maintenance people were treating us better than the owners.
Oh,
so it was a reverse scenario.
Oh,
and they used excuses to not want to go out.
Mm.
So that's the issue. And that's ego, Sheila.
Yeah.
That's ego.
Yeah.
So, but that's something common, I know, with many of the big realting firms from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, California. It's like, I'm mightier, I'm bigger than you. I've got more power than you.
It's really funny. I have had so many clients, and I think in the real estate side of things, I've had clients that send me everybody when I'm like, I'm not even doing this full time anymore. They're like, please help me get this house, or help me go do this, whatever, or negotiate. Can you review the lease? And I have a team of people I refer to, but I end up taking some, friends work on because they're like, really want me to, but it's because that difference right there is why, because they know that I'm considering them like I would my best friend or, one of my grown kids or something like that. Like I'm considering them more about their needs than a commission or just to get paid.
That's important. Very important.
So I think that people feel the energy of how you show up, whether you're managing property or running a side business or running a store or something in person. They're going to feel the energy of how you show up. And the intention is felt. And so that I think is going to make the difference. I literally had a rule with the people that work with me that if you don't want to be here today because you have something else going on, you don't come in. Please don't. go do whatever you need to do, because the people, the clients would come in and they would feel, I don't want to be here. So then
That's
not getting good service.
exactly right. Exactly right.
And it's like, well, why am I going to pay you? If you don't want to be here, don't be here. And then when you really want to be here 100%. And that can go for business. That can go in a relationship where to be present. This is like humanity, treating people humanely. This is, whether it's a loved one, you're present for your children, your grandchildren, your spouse, your loved ones. You're there. You're not still in the office.
I agree. That was a tip I actually gave about 2 months ago. And when I do the letter of the alphabet, I did A, and I said, always be present. And I did a whole thing about that. But what solved this whole dilemma that I was sharing with you is I decided that, I'm not going to let it bother me. And I'm just going to send the person love. And did that for a couple of months. And then it just sort of changed. From being something that was uncomfortable to something that was, I don't use the word tolerable, but something that was more mutually business respective. And so that was a good thing. But listen, Sheila, we are just about out of time, as my producer here is giving me the signal in the ear. I'd like you to share with us, I know you have a special gift that you'd like to share with our viewers. Why don't you tell us about that? And maybe if any of our wonderful people would like to get in touch with you.
All right. Thank you. Yes. So the gift is actually the introduction to the Boots formula. It is a 40-minute course. And then there's also the Boots meditation, which is a time that walks you through preparing to reboot, whether that's in business or in your personal life. And you can get that at www.sheila, SHEILA, Mac, mac.com/boots meditation, BOOTS meditation.
Sheila, it has been such a pleasure to be with you and to, hear your stories and to be able to read your book, and also just to live a little bit of your journey and give some people some great inspiration to, where you got to today and how you got there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show, John.
It was my pleasure. All the best to you and much success to you and your family.
All right. You too. Bye, everyone.
Well, Marcus, what did you think of that interview? We always have some amazing guests here on the Jay Moore Tech Talk Show. And I have to tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed speaking with Sheila and learning about all of her nuances and how she did that gift store and the way she just takes a personal approach to helping people, and how something as simple as a store that started off very small and then became very large, and how she became this mastermind in real estate when this wasn't even her plan. I think this just goes to show you, Marcus, that synchronicities really do have a place in life. And anybody that doesn't believe in that, well, I'd say to think about that again, because nothing just happens for no reason. Everything has a synchronicity. Everything in life has a purpose, has a reason. And so what did you think, Marcus? I want to give you a moment or two to tell me what your thoughts were. I am glad you enjoyed it too. I enjoyed learning about the Boots formula and how, she could take people from point A and take them all the way back to, let's say, point Z, which is the end of the spectrum. And the other thing that was interesting, I thought, was how, a lot of people tell you the way you should be or what you should be doing. And I think with using her formula, a lot of people don't know what is best for you, but they think they do. And, this lady had a lot of courage, had a lot of passion, like a lot of entrepreneurs. And I think that's the key. You have to just get back up on your horse and you have to ride it, no matter how hard it is, when no one else is helping you, when everyone else is not even supporting you to ride a horse. And I'm using that, as an analogy here. She is an amazing lady, from, talking about the Boots formula, relationships, freedom from abuse, money matters, careers, relationships, parenting, elder care, breaking free from addiction, self-care, spirituality, lifestyle design, grief support, and just so much that this lady does. And I just have to say, God bless her, what she's doing for the world and how she's just made an amazing life for herself and how she's helped so many of those interns be able to really get a sense of purpose and be able to help them not only learn, but be part of something and say that they got in and were able to help build. I think that's what's amazing. When something gets big, it's great. But when you can become part of something on the ground floor and say, hey, I had my hand in that, I had my leg in that, or I was part of that, that's just like so priceless. Well, again, I want to thank you, Sheila Mac, for coming on the Jay Moore Tech Talk Show. We really do appreciate you coming on. And also want to thank you for letting me be a guest on your show, as I was on your show a few months ago and really enjoyed you interviewing me as well. Well, in new news, Swiggy, and you may not know who the heck Swiggy is, they're in India, and they're one of the first to deliver fast food via drone. So this is very interesting, and they're one of India's largest online food ordering and delivery platforms. They're based in Bangalore, India, and they're operating right now in 100 Indian cities, roughly. And they're in early as 2019, they expanded into general product deliveries under the name Swiggy Stores. So this is a very, very interesting concept. And just looking at the drone that they actually have, it has their name on it, Swiggy. So I think that is pretty amazing. And, what they've been doing and how they're researching this. And this is not a small drone, ladies and gentlemen, but I want to bring something out to all of you. In order to fly a drone commercially, whether that's to take pictures, whether that is to just fly it in the air for no other purpose and not even to charge any money, it doesn't matter whether you make a penny or not. If you use this on a YouTube channel, on a television program, you need to become licensed. So I want to share with you that I'm actually going to be pursuing my Part 107 drone license to become a pilot, so that I'll be able to fly a drone commercially. And we might even have some air footage to share with you. Since I'll be legal, we'll be able to show you that right on our show. So lots of great stuff happening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about something else that is starting to become very, very popular in the news. And it's called sideloading. And so what is sideloading, you're probably asking? Well, sideloading an app on your iPhone is what I'm talking about. But what am I really talking about? It's when you install an app onto an Apple device, and basically you go through a program, and this program is not a jailbreak method. You're probably familiar with that, but it allows the program to be installed, and then it trusts the program instead of through the Apple's App Store. So such programs are things like Cydia Impactor and Xcode, and it's going to be an alternative to using jailbreak. But I have to let you know that side-loading an app on an iPhone is very dangerous. And you're probably saying, John, why is it so dangerous? Well, that's an excellent question. And it's because you are going around all the safety securities. And I'm sure this goes without saying that the safest way to download apps is through these Apple's App Store, and obviously through the Google Store for the Android device. And so downloading sideload apps can risk compromising your device with malware, and also compromise the data and confidentiality of things that are on your particular device. Now, I know it's the latest trend and fad by geeks to sideload and move files and programs from one device to another, but just be careful, because using this means that you're connecting your computer to some information that may not be very trusting, might expose you to some potential security risks, and also it may actually damage your device. Yes, that is true. Well, Marcus, I think we have had a great show tonight, but I really want to caution all of you to make sure that you are using the latest version of Peleton. And if you are not using the latest version of Peleton, well, you better download and get it fast, because I don't think that any of you want to have your bike eavesdropped in on, whether that be through phone or through a camera. And so definitely get that update. It is free and something that you definitely should be doing. But anytime you have a device, ladies and gentlemen, that's connecting to the internet, you need to make sure that you have the latest. We talk about this on the iPhone. We talk about this on other devices. It is so very, very critical. If you don't, well, you're going to be looking for trouble. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure being with you this evening. Marcus, I guess we have to say goodbye, right? Well, if you guys have a product and you have an idea for a show, reach out to jmawar.com. Remember, you will have to donate the product to us, and we'll do an unboxing of it. We'll do a review of it. But if you have an idea for a show and it is educational, visit our site. Let us know what it is. We don't accept all ideas. Again, we're looking to educate and inspire and entertain. So educate, inspire, and educate our audience. That is really important. So if you're looking to pitch our audience, well, that would be an advertisement, and that's not something we're looking to put on the show. Well, I think now it's time to say goodbye, Marcus. All right. Take care, everyone. We will see you next week. That is going to be June 25th. And we have another great guest, which I'm sure you're going to want me to tell you about that person before I do say goodbye. And that is Andre Ruiz, who is a coach, a success motivational coach. And you're definitely not going to want to miss that. That's going to be a great, amazing show. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm glad that things are opening up in the world. Be smart, be safe, get outside, go live life, enjoy it. And if you have a moment, ladies and gentlemen, please do check out Envision, ENVISION networking. And check out Science Fridays with John and How to Network, where I actually share tips and techniques on science, but I pair them to people and how science is synonymous with ourselves and how there's an important lesson we all need to learn. All right. Do you need to say goodbye? We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Be well, go outside, and take a nice long walk. Thank you for tuning in to the Jay Moore Weekly Technology Show, where we answer your questions about how technology is supposed to work and sometimes why you have challenges getting it to work that way. For more IT support and tips, just text IT support to 888-111. That's IT support to 888-111, and you'll get tips on technology. I'll see you next week right here on the Jay Moore Tech Talk Show. Remember, jmor.com.